Welcome back to the Tempo Storm Hearthstone Metasnapshot breakdown for March 5th, 2017. 26 days after Blizzard announced a balance patch for Hearthstone, the last day of the February season finally saw the nerf of two of aggro's favorite friends, Small-Time Buccaneer and Spirit Claws. With Buccaneer moving to 1 health and Spirit Claws increasing to 2 mana, there had to be at least some small changes in what has otherwise been an extremely settled meta. As the effects from the balance patch continue to work their way through the ladder, we're noticing a few trends taking shape in this post-nerf landscape. The top of tier 1 on the ladder right now is Pirate Water Warrior and Aggro Water Rogue. As with any meta, the fastest decks have the ability to punish any unrefined iteration. As players mess around with different variants of Mage, Warlock, and Druid, decks like Aggro Rogue swoop in to capitalize. As players test slower meta decks like Combo Druid, Pirate Warrior reminds them that experimentation can still get punished. The other deck in tier 1 right now is Hard Aggro's only true counter, Reno Warlock. The most exciting part of the meta right now is that tier 2 is bursting at the seams. Jade Druid has moved to the top of tier 2, making an especially strong showing for multiple top players at the end of the February season, and the familiar faces of Tempo Mage, Dragon Warrior, and Miracle Rogue are finding their own place in the meta again as well. Even though Aggro Warrior and Aggro Rogue aren't new ideas, the inclusion of Finja and his Murlocs is still something that catches players off guard. These archetypes drop in 2 copies of Bluegill Warriors, 2 Murloc War Leaders, and Finja the Flying Star. The Murlocs slow each archetype down a bit in the early turns, but after developing Finja on turn 5, these decks possess a capacity for burst and an ability to go toe-to-toe with Jade decks in turns 6 through 10. This package allows these aggro decks to come back in otherwise unwinnable board states, making the ladder climb easier in this shifting meta. One of the big mistakes players can make right after a patch that appears to target aggro is to assume that a slower meta has arrived. Much like when Mean Streets first dropped, when a new patch or expansion enters the game, players are actually more likely to face aggro decks. So if you're hoping to bring Tempo Mage or Zoo Warlock out of the garage, be prepared for aggressive warriors and aggressive rogues to show up on the other side of the board. Also, the Jade Druid archetype seems to be the greatest benefactor of the nerf to aggro shaman. Between this and the sheer strength of Jade Shaman, expect to see a lot more Jade playstyle in the coming weeks. A small balance patch like this is likely to spice up the meta for a few weeks. While the meta had been set in stone before the patch was released, things will still be volatile on the ladder over the course of the March season, so be sure to keep a close eye on your matchups this week, understand where your archetype fits in the rock, paper, scissors game of Mean Streets, and be prepared to adjust your strategy as things continue to shift. Between a balance patch and the standard rotation, it's an exciting time in the Hearthstone community. If you enjoyed this Meta Snapshot breakdown, consider leaving us a like or favorite, and please subscribe to stay tuned with all of Tempo Storm's news and Hearthstone content.